welcome to today's webinar conversation on how is it that Giving Tuesday can actually be every day, and what does it look like for Giving Tuesday to be a part of your strategy all year round when it comes to giving. So I would firstly like to welcome and introduce our amazing panelists today. We have Kieren Britton, Community Fundraising Specialist at Protect Our Winters. And Kieren's going to be sharing her experience with the Protect Our Winters group and what fundraising and their fundraising strategy has meant to their community as a whole. We've got Mark Bogertman, who is a fundraising expert from NationBuilder's enterprise sales team with over 15 years of experience in fundraising, philanthropy, and major gift giving. Mark's going to be able to share some of the practical tips and strategies that he has seen throughout his work over the last 15 years. And last but definitely not least, we have Erica Rissi, who is NationBuilder's community manager. Erica has worked in nonprofits all over the Iowa region, and she has been with the NationBuilder team working as that vital link between our community and NationBuilder staff. And she's going to be able to share some insights on what she saw in the nonprofit space, but also what she has been seeing with the NationBuilder community over the past few years. I am Sorcha. I'm your host for today. For those of you who've been in the NationBuilder community for a while, you have seen me knocking around. I've been with NationBuilder for the last 8+ years, and I head up our organizing department. So I have the absolute privilege of getting to work with our customers and partners all across the world. And I'm really excited to be here and convening this group today. So some of you might be asking, what the heck is NationBuilder? So we were founded by organizers for organizers, and we were created with this deep belief that everyone can lead, everyone. And our founders set out with this goal of making the tools of leadership available at an affordable price to people all over the world. And as our platform has grown and evolved, fun fact, NationBuilder's birthday was yesterday. October 31st was the first line of code written, and so we turned 14. So we've done a lot of growing and evolving in those 14 years, and we've had the luxury of providing leadership solutions to countless political campaigns, candidates, right? That's pretty traditional. That's our bread and butter. But we've also been able to work with amazing nonprofits, association groups, higher education organizations, corporations, small charities, all across the globe. Ultimately, we are a mission-driven software company, and we hold a deep belief that solving humanity's unprecedented challenges will occur only with the participation and leadership of millions of citizens around the world. We have a technological infrastructure to make participation and leadership possible at scale. In the words of our founder, Jim Gilliam, democratize democracy. So since 2011, we have served over 100,000 customers in over 129 countries, from individuals stepping into leadership for the first time to global profits, heads of political parties, international networks, charities, and Fortune 500 companies. And we do that with our software. Our software contains 5 core pillars of the platform. We have our database functionality, we have our website functionality, we have our communication suite, which incorporates texting and emailing, we have our fundraising suite, and then lastly, we have our advocacy suite. And all of those speak to each other to create NationBuilder. So there's my intro and all the words. And I now want to go into a panel conversation with these wonderful humans. So just to kick us off, I'm going to ask each of you, what does Giving Tuesday mean to you? Mark, take the stage. What does it mean to you?
Well, Giving Tuesday to me, it just looks like an opportunity for us to change our orientation. You know, we think of Giving Tuesday as something that follows one of the biggest consumption holidays of the year after Black Friday. And it was a way, I think, that the nonprofit community, the philanthropic community was like, you know what, we're going to radically push back on that. We want to create an opportunity for people to give as strongly or as forcefully as we consume. And so Giving Tuesday to me looks like during the holiday season, a way for us to really get in touch with the heart of philanthropy, which I think is one of the things that the holiday season is really all about.
Yeah, thank you. I always forget the connection with Black Friday. Kieren.
I love this question because there has been this question in my mind as of late as to why Giving Tuesday is after we've spent all our money. And so my thought with Giving Tuesday is not only is this exactly what Mark said, this beautiful opportunity to come together to create change after such a consumeristic mindset, but also I think it's this beautiful opportunity. And the theme of today's webinar is just so on point that it doesn't have to be after we've given all of our money. It becomes this opportunity for change, an opportunity to take it even further. So I think Giving Tuesday is this reminder that we have so much impact when we come together, especially on a day. And I love the conversation about how we can do it in a way that maybe is not second thought to us spending money first. So I'm excited for today, but Giving Tuesday is definitely an opportunity.
Oh, I love that. Why is it after? That's okay. Erica, what does it mean to you?
Well, to follow up, I mean, I'm loving your words, especially the word opportunity. I feel like depending on however nonprofits want to take their campaign, whether it is fundraising, trying to gain those dollars, or even if it's, recruitment, brand advocacy, anything, it's just an opportunity to connect to people, even bring people into something you care about so much and share about why you do what you do every day. And Kieren, of course, I love what you're saying about how it's not just something that can happen one day out of the year, but something that really could be transferred every single day. So, gosh, Giving Tuesday, what an opportunity.
So, given what you just shared, Kieren, in particular, around it being an opportunity and it doesn't necessarily have to be the one day, what does it look like to keep supporters engaged year round in the idea of giving?
I love this because this is exactly what my role specifically with POW, Protect Our Winters Canada, has developed into. So I come from a very fundraising community background. My belief is that we are not asking for funds from donors. We're not asking for funds from members. We are asking for funds from people, and people want engagement. They're not just going to turn around and give you funds. So keeping people engaged on different levels is just so important. And to me, it is this funnel, this ladder of engagement that allows for people to be engaged and active within your community. To me, a donor, a supporter, a funder can be a volunteer. They can be someone that attends an event. They could be really anyone that has a touch point. And then that linear approach, that linear model of where we approach them in different avenues so that they can feel engaged with the nonprofit is so important. You'll see today we've got people walking around, buzzing around because we have a fundraising event tonight. And that fundraising event is a climate advocacy conversation and film night. It is our season opener. We are starting the winter season with ski films, and people are going to be bringing their skis and snowboards to get waxed here at the MEC store. It is all about community. It is all about excitement. It is all about bringing people in and allowing them to feel an emotional connection with what we do. And that's where our value alignment will be. And then we just continue that engagement forward. A lot of our funding is through events that celebrate the individual, challenge the individual, and allow them to have fun within their community. And I think that that's where we see such strong communities popping up in all of our chapters across Canada, because we really engage our people in such an intimate and individualized manner. So that's kind of how we approach it. It's less of how is this individual siloed within our approach, but more so, this is an individual, let's engage them and let's connect with them on our value set. And I think that that is just, it's so important when you're approaching fundraising in that way, where it is really a community coming together.
Putting people at the center is everything that I heard in what you shared there, and is a really core value of mine personally and also NationBuilder's. Mark, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this idea of, like, it's a person, it's not a donor, it's not a volunteer, it's a human How does that show up when you're thinking about major gifts and kind of the experience you've had in the nonprofit space?
Yeah, no, thanks, Kieren, for sharing that, and especially fun to think about that event. I definitely I want to put that on my calendar for next year, so I can be in the office experiencing that buzz. But one of the things that I heard you say that I really loved is, one of the worst things that can happen in an organization is that groups begin to operate in silos in general. When that happens, it can happen in fundraising. I've seen it a number of times, and fundraising can become something that people look at as a means to an end. Like, it's the thing that enables the mission, but that's not actually how philanthropy works. It's actually kind of the opposite. Like, gifts that come in are that lagging indicator of the quality of the relationships that you've formed with your donors over time. And so, in an organization, there are, different layers. There's board members, there's staff, there's program participants, there's patrons, and everyone has an important experience and an important voice. And so philanthropy can really become a very important democratizing experience where everyone has equal playing field. And so the thing that matters most to me when I look at an organization is, what is the culture of philanthropy within the organization? Those cultures kind of evolve naturally. It doesn't matter kind of where you are. They happen in regions, they happen in companies, they happen in families or in friendships. And so the best leaders raise the bar of the quality of those cultures. And so the quality of your philanthropic culture is something that's really important to pay attention to, and to really nurture. It's worth the time to do that.
Yes. The idea of culture and putting people at the center, to me, are just inextricably linked. Thank you both for sharing that. Erica, I'd love to hear from you on your experience within the nonprofits locally and how donor engagement showed up. How did you all see people as individuals? I feel like, especially with a local nonprofit and charity, you have a little bit of more of an ease, but maybe that's an assumption I'm just making.
Well, it's such an interesting idea. As I was thinking about Giving Tuesday coming up, I was thinking about my experiences and what it was like to really try to emphasize whatever campaign we were rolling with that year. And I do remember it just feeling so competitive and challenging. Getting your message out there and hoping that it could reach all these new people felt so hard. And we really had to lean on our personal contacts and where we remembered leaving those relationships off at, whether it was a phone call or an email passing by in the community, maybe a text on a team member's, a thread from them. So gosh, so challenging. And I just think what it would be like. And now, my role looks so different. It looks like advocating for actual equipment to give teams the tools they need to be able to do this, to optimize their time, maybe even, answer some challenges they didn't even know had answers to them. And so I just think that there's such an opportunity to, emphasize, any campaign, rally recruiters, raise the funds, all the things.
Yeah, you bring up a really interesting point though, right? There's a lot of different levers to pull when you have a community, and if you're asking for money, or if you're asking them to volunteer, if you're asking them to fundraise. And a thing that I've heard in the space over the past couple of months is this idea of donor fatigue, or just fatigue in general, right? And whether that's fatigue in I can't give money, and there's a whole emotional kind of thread that you can look at for donor fatigue, but there's also fatigue in I'm being asked to give in so many different ways because the world is a scary place. So how can I make change? How can I actually do an impact? I'd love to hear, Kieren, is there any kind of experience that you've had with your community with this idea of fatigue and how to overcome it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have discussions on our side regularly about what is fundraising for POW, and even just coming at it as a person that's experiencing it myself. I mean, we get asked for money all the time, whether it is shopping, whether it is email ads that are telling you about some discount and now is the time to buy, or it is support and help change the world. And so much is going on. We feel as individuals, as human beings, we feel the heaviness of a global impact at this point. And on top of that, we then have our local concerns and then our individual concerns. And that's a lot of weight on our shoulders as human beings. And at the end, every single person is a human being experiencing it. And we really had to understand what is fundraising on POW's side. And we are still navigating that and building this out. But what we want to do, especially because we are in climate advocacy and we recognize that this is not about changing light bulbs so that you're more efficient or making sure that you are recycling at your house or you have a compost at your house. Those efforts are amazing, but it is about policy and bigger changes that we're focusing on. So when we're talking about boiling that down to the money that's even coming in, we don't want the weight of everything to be on the individual. We want the weight of everything to be on the larger entities. The change is going to come from those larger entities as well. So what we are really focusing on when it comes to fundraising are events and film nights, things that boost the community, things that challenge the community. We love seeing when somebody is cycling. A gentleman and his wife, he cycled, I think it was 700 kilometers in a week, and he raised funds for POW doing it. And then his wife was hiking this incredible, I can't really remember the details. It was a little while ago, but it was a GoFundMe campaign, right? Where there was a challenge, there was adventure, and that was so aligned with who we are as a community and what we're doing. And so those are the efforts of fundraising that we love to focus on, things that inspire, things that encourage community connection, that get us all hiking and biking and adventuring together, yogaing together. And then we see these individuals doing these incredible fundraising efforts where they're taking on a personal challenge, and then we celebrate them and amplify them within our community and build this connection. That's where we're starting to see fundraising really come to life. And I think the important question for any organization to ask is, what does this look like for you? How is this unique to you? How does this boil down to your baseline? Because even when we look at the change we want to make, as POW, we want to be influencing policy and having big discussions and celebrating the individual, because it's not about perfection, it's about progress for the individual. So yeah, that's kind of how we've approached it, is really kind of having those moments of celebration within our community and inspiring. And that's been really successful for us. But taking that second to sit back and think about, what does fundraising look like for us? Are we the type of organization that has really successful one-on-one relationships? So donor fundraising is really important, or maybe something through a gala, or maybe something through raffles or what have you. Everyone is different, but understanding exactly how that aligns with an organization's core and their efforts is so important before you just start throwing darts and seeing what sticks.
It's not about perfection, it's about progress on a bumper sticker. So I'm just gonna put that out there if anyone wants to create it. Or does it already?
Yeah, I don't know. I have to say, it is not my word. Pretty sure Jeremy Jones said that. So might want to have a little caveat. Maybe it is a bumper sticker. We got to find it. I think it's really impactful.
It really is, because it's the little wins, right? And that shows up not just in fundraising, but it shows up in life. People are motivated when it's a little win. It's not this avalanche that you have to get through. There's so much that you said in that I want to pull out, in particular around the advocacy and nonprofit correlation. But I'd love, Erica, Mark, if you have anything you want to add in this idea of kind of donor fatigue and why it does or doesn't exist.
Yeah, I would add something. When we think about philanthropy or the act of giving in general, it's a very human experience. And, philanthropy itself, the word is love of humankind. And so it is really something that comes from the heart. And so when we think about the practice, it's really a practice, the practice of philanthropy. we want to be constantly thinking about how are we speaking to the hearts of our donors. You know, when we think about creating policy change in the world, how are we thinking about how lives are being changed, and therefore why do the hearts of the people who are going to be impacted by that policy, why are those front and center for us when we think about the ask that we're putting out there for our donors to participate in? Because we want their heart to be the thing that leads them to making that gift. And so, you know, when we think about I think it's important, you know, one of the elements of a really positive philanthropic culture can be storytelling, because storytelling is the thing that really gets people in touch with the heart of your mission. You know, how are lives being impacted? How is the world being changed? And so when you see that, and a donor is in touch with that, those stories are being told, hopefully not just by your fundraising people, but your fundraising people can be thinking about, all right, where are the great stories? How do I get those stories in front of the donor so that they're hearing this great content, or they're hearing the thing that happened yesterday right in our lobby? Those are the things that speak to a person's heart and get them to think about how they can participate and be involved. And one of the ways is by giving philanthropically.
Yes, brilliant. Erica, anything on your end?
I was just sitting and, you know, thinking about what you've both said, just taking it a step further. When I think back to my nonprofit time and what I would do now if I were approaching Giving Tuesday, and if I were able to build these communities that you're talking about, deeply connected, emotionally connected to the work that's being done by these incredible leaders, I think that I would have approached it with also a mindset of how can I also give these people the tools that they need to share this mission, to be able to dip into other communities, maybe even like-minded individuals who can see that connection and maybe empathize with that as well. That idea of like peer-to-peer outreach in this season would be so intriguing. So yeah, I maybe would pass the torch to the viewers and let us know how you're going to approach it.
Yes, peer-to-peer. It all boils down to the ability to connect through story. Mark, thank you for bringing that to it. But also, if I have a human connection, I'm going to be more likely to share and say, hey, I really care about X organization. Would you consider joining me at the event or donating or whatever it is? So this idea of advocacy and fundraising, there's a lot of different kind of like academic schools of thought on why advocacy is not connected to fundraising and why they are separate things. There is a whole school of thought on why they benefit each other and how in particular policy change can really be the core of what some nonprofits are doing. I think as we've kind of moved into the post-COVID era, people have gotten a lot more comfortable with being online and things constantly being kind of pushed in front of them, being on a webinar, right, as opposed to being in a room for this type of conversation. And I think advocacy has become more easy to engage with, in particular legislative advocacy, right? Contacting your reps, telling them you care about something. And when you look at that in conjunction with fundraising efforts, I'm really curious, Kieren, if y'all have seen that there's a correlation between people who give and people who take action, like legislative action. And what does that look like? Are there different levels of engagement or paths of engagement that you take people on if they've, you know, done legislative advocacy first or if they've donated first? Like, is there a kind of a strategy between your donors and your advocates or people who advocate on your behalf?
Oh, that is such a great question, and something that I think we're really still learning about and trying to navigate. And I don't know how deep I can get into that because we are very in our learning stages of it. But what I do really recognize within our community is, and quite honestly, this is what brought me in as a member to POW, is that when I first heard of what Protect Our Winters was, it was in 2018 at the Banff Mountain Film Festival. It was a fireside chat, super relaxed conversation. And we were discussing how, or I guess they were discussing, I was not a part of it at that point. They were discussing how really it's about a numbers game when it comes to policy change, when it comes to policy impact. We as a POW community could all come together, and it's as simple as giving your name and email so that when they would go forward to government officials and say, hey, we have 32,000 people that strongly believe this, it is so impactful because we can add our name to the voice. So when it comes to POW, when it comes to our approach, for us, membership growth is so important, and it is as simple as just adding your email to our membership, to our list. It doesn't take anything else to be a member. But what that also means on a fundraising side is that not only do we have this growing list of Canadians that feel passionately about climate advocacy, climate action, and we can take this list forward to whomever we're having that discussion with, we also have the opportunity to reach out to these individuals and say, hey, we love that you care about this. We love that you're aligned. And by the way, we're coming to Calgary, Vancouver, Montreal, Ottawa, and we're hosting a season opener. And we would love for you to come and celebrate, get your skis waxed, enjoy some films, and listen to athletes, Olympic athletes, discuss what it means to be a climate advocate to them and have this educational opportunity. And to me, those two things are so beautiful because not only has this individual supported us by adding their email and being a member, but they also have the option to connect with like-minded people and celebrate on site and meet these very inspirational people and be inspired and further inspire as well. And usually they don't even think about the $15, $20 ticket that's involved. That is fundraising, and they're getting so much value out of it, and they feel like they're a part of the community. And that's where I think those things align for us. I can't speak on behalf of the entire organization. I'm also not in the legal side of things, the more so advocacy side of things. I am very much so in the fundraising side, but from my lens, that is where our efforts are very much so aligned. And quite honestly, I know that if I've done my job right, the individual that did pay money to attend this event doesn't feel like they have just been asked to support us financially. Instead, they receive and feel included, and they have received more than they have given. And that to me is successful community-based fundraising.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can I just jump in there? Because you mentioned message fatigue earlier, and I think donor fatigue earlier, and I actually think it's message fatigue. You know, when you feel included, when the message that comes to you or the ask that comes to you is more about you being involved, no one tires of getting messages like that. There may be only a certain amount of dollars that you're able to give, but no one's going to turn away a strong message that helps you to feel included and involved.
Yes. I was actually going to come to you, Mark, just to hear about what advocacy looked like in your previous roles and what it looks like right now when you're working with customers around the globe on tying advocacy to fundraising, or is it not even coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that is going on for so many of us, there's so much change that's happening in the world right now, and I think we're all kind of responding to what that change feels like. That change can feel like something that makes us feel afraid. It can be something that makes us feel hopefully inspired. But it's, you know, change is something that our brains are just hardwired to kind of put up walls against. And so, you know, when I think about the way that people are feeling from a giving standpoint, I think it's really important to fight that brain body connection and really get into the heart. It is the thing that matters in giving conversations. You know, when we think about relationships with people, it's driven by where our heart is going. And so when it comes to advocacy and fundraising, I think that's the thing that we constantly have to be careful about. I see a lot of messaging. I think we all get messaging into our inboxes, regardless of what your political affiliations are or whatever. A lot of those messages can be things that make you feel afraid or make you feel scared. And it's important for us always, when we think about the quality of our messaging, and we think about the campaigns that we're putting out into the world that we're asking people to participate in, one of the best services that we can provide to people as leaders is to inspire, to reach for the heart, to think about the positive impact that we want to make in the world, and ask people to join us and participate in that. I think the most effective campaigns do that really well.
Absolutely. Erica, I'd love your insights on how you're seeing this show up kind of in the social media sphere as a part of your role here at NationBuilder, and I know in other jobs. Are you seeing nonprofits kind of dip themselves in and out of advocacy and fundraising? Are they kind of seamlessly together? Like, what does that look like right now on the social side?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot more alignment in that world, kind of like Kieren was saying, than we've maybe paid attention to before. There's so many little buttons and honestly even just platforms for people to take action, for them to post out that link of what they really want them to do. There's also so many trends to be able to share your mission, share your story, so many places for you to post clips to share what that looks like from the World Wide Web. And so I think that while there is so much alignment there, there's also that edge of competition. And so I think that what I'm noticing, especially like from our customers, they see so much impact being able to not only have that message of advocacy across their social media, but that it's followed up on their website, it's followed up in their other communications, that all of these different edges of marketing are all working together to help support that message, continue that story, and keep bringing people in. That invitation, that opportunity that Kieren and Mark keep talking about, being able to present it as easily as possible. There's a lot of messages out there, especially around this time of year. So being able to just share that really transparently and effectively, really quickly, is what I'm seeing be so beneficial for our customers.
Absolutely, yeah. And that key of actually owning the relationship once it comes back. Okay, well, I would love to just get closing thoughts from each of you. And so I'll kick off with you, Erica. If there is one thing that everyone who has tuned in to this lovely webinar today that they would take away with for them, right, that you have shared or that you haven't shared yet, what is one piece of advice that you would give to people thinking about fundraising or getting involved in fundraising?
I think that first, it's really important to just shake the pressure off, like lose the expectations of what other people have done and even what like your top goal could possibly be, and dig into your strengths, dig into where your community, where you need that involvement, where you need to equip and empower people to get more involved, or to share your message, or to get involved in a different or unique way. I think that this idea of Giving Tuesday is this like large campaign that we all need to survive, that nonprofits need to, make their mission, make other people learn about their mission, or emphasize the work that they're trying to do. But I think that what we all can recognize is that Giving Tuesday, the idea of that campaign, is something that can happen any day you want to put your mind to it. There are digital tools out there to help you save time and focus on the things you truly care about and need to work on. So my biggest, word of encouragement would be to just like lean into who you are and the impact that you can have. It's unique and special and it's needed. That's mine. Should I popcorn? Ooh, I'll popcorn to Mark.
All right, thank you. Well, one of the things that we teased heading into this webinar was, this is prime real estate when we think about giving end of the year. So when we think about Giving Tuesday, we think about everything that needs to happen between now and the end of the year. You're in that critical phase in fundraising where it's important to segment your audience and think about, being ruthless with your time. How can I have the biggest impact from a fundraising standpoint with the time that I have between now and the end of the year? That's the mindset of a gift officer this time of year. So hopefully you have the tech tools that you need to segment your audiences, segment your donor list, and really think about attacking that. But I think the biggest thing that I want to have people take away is long-term, be thinking about your organization's philanthropic culture, which just generally is your organization's attitude toward fundraising and donor relationships, because positive philanthropic culture is really the engine that drives fundraising, and especially fundraising with major gifts philanthropy. You want to be thinking about, how can everyone in the organization have a role to play? How can I delegate leadership in my fundraising efforts, get everyone to understand that they have a job to perform, and there are certain things that they're accountable to that align with the gifts that they have within the organization. Not everyone thinks that fundraising has to be about asking, but everyone has a role to play that's suited to what their unique gifts are. And so give people a job, move them to take action, delegate that leadership so that it's not just falling only on one person to raise the profile of your fundraising as an organization. And think about what your culture is internally and nurture that in 2024. Kieren.
Oh, that's a hard one to follow up with. That really drove home so much. I love it. And in effort of trying not to repeat anything or just sit here and be like, oh, what they said. Yeah, I love that approach of recognizing. I mean, we are a small team, a small but mighty team when it comes to POW, when it comes to some of the other nonprofits that I've either consulted with or worked with or have been a part of. It's not always a massive team where you have so many different people in the fundraising department pushing forward. So I love that approach of recognizing the value that each team member has and really moving forward as a team. And then what I love about being small and being human and having that human approach is something that I've kind of said over and over again, but maybe I'll end with this, is just to remember that you're talking to humans and you're bringing in humans, and that connection on a human to human scale is really important. And if you have the beauty of being a small team, also the burden of being a small team, it's hard, but if you have the beauty of being a small team, it's easier to remember it's a human to human contact. But sometimes as you grow, it's harder to remember that. And I just encourage everyone to remember that human to human contact. And in such a heavy world right now, that positive approach really goes far. If you can share where you're aligned in values and share your positive approach to things, I think that you're going to see, not only are you going to see change, but you're also going to be seeing a long-term emotional connection through change. It's not, I have an extra $5, I'm going to donate that $5. It is, I care about this, I will find that $5. I will go to that event because I can't miss out on it because I am aligned on a value and emotional level. So yeah, taking that human team and connecting with the humans that are part of your larger family, I think is a really important approach.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. I have really appreciated the last 53 minutes. So we do have a couple of minutes here for questions if folks want to pop them in the chat. The other thing I will note for those who are with us on here on Zoom and live, we do have product demonstrations. I saw some notes come in around kind of getting more in depth in our platform. We do have those every Tuesday and Thursday. So if you want to kind of get a little bit more into the weeds on how NationBuilder can support your fundraising infrastructure, please join us. Our amazing organizing team hosts those every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific. So please join there. And then we will be having a much more product oriented Giving Tuesday end of year type of content that will be taking place later in November with our enterprise account management team, where they'll be taking you through fundraising on the platform and kind of doing some screen shares. So if you want to join either of those, you'll see them in nationbuilder.com/webinars. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining today. Appreciate it, and have an amazing end of year giving season.